Let's be real, life is messy. We all wrestle with loneliness, guilt, and shame.
Having a supportive community and the right resources can make all the difference.
That's why we started Healing Unscripted.
We're just three friends on a mission to bring hope and healing.
Whether you're struggling yourself or walking alongside someone who is,
We're diving deep into the hard stuff.
with insightful guests, real talk,
And a whole lot of heart.
join us on Healing Unscripted.
Hey guys, welcome back to Healing Unscripted. I'm Jen, and we are happy you are joining us today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liana.
Hey guys, and I'm Laura. Today we are welcoming Tish to our show. Thank you, Tish, for coming.
You're welcome.
Tish is one of our local psychedelic facilitators or psychedelic therapist. I ran into her because we have seniors and we were decorating for after prom, and somehow podcast conversations come up, and I realized what she did. And I said, you please come on our show and tell us what you do. So thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Especially
Yay.
guys with like the season that y'all are in right now. You're just kind of burning
Yes,
at
we have
both ends.
3 graduates
We each
class
have
of
a graduate.
2026
Yeah.
from as seniors from the high school. I just had a graduate from CSU last weekend, and now a senior. So we're in it.
We're in the thick of
Yes.
it right
Yeah.
now. But we wanted to make time for our community's mental health.
Yes,
So
It's
we are all
important.
happy to be here
Mhm.
and
absolutely.
be proud of our kids and our community for all they're doing. And I love that you kind of looked into this and some of our past podcasts and how we try to bring up all avenues of mental health, whether it's our kids in the elementary school, the middle school, high school, our adults, addicts, people in recovery. And it's nice trying to explain it to people, but then when you really grasp it, we do really want to share with people what is available in our community. And then Tish brought up too how interesting it is that our graduating class of 2026, they have experienced a lot of loss and
So
pain,
much.
Mhm.
and how important it is that we continue a mental health conversation with our kids here. We're all wearing hats today
Mhm.
that are Shred for Jesse. Um, he had graduated from Steamboat 2 years ago and passed away over the summer. And I know it was really traumatic for the school, the football team, obviously for the family. We're all wearing his hats today
Yep.
to support the family as they continue their counseling. We just wanted to put a shout out to the Hamrick family that we love them and support them. If you guys want to support the Hamrick family to help them continue their counseling, you can pick up one of their hats at the Wheels shop that's downtown in Steamboat and pick out your hat. 100% of the proceeds go to the family.
Such a great thing.
Yeah, I love
Shred
it.
for Jesse. I love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the kids have also lost. We were talking about they lost a ski coach. Andy was just this past winter.
Yeah.
And then the summer before that, they lost one of their classmates to suicide also. And I know there's been more than that one suicide as well. So it's really it's tough. Our
people,
community goes through a lot
the
of
parents
loss.
of some of the kids
Yeah.
Yeah.
have lost battles with cancer. I mean, there's been so much loss. And, it's different because we're such a small community,
Mhm.
even though there's, 200 per class now? Around
there. Yeah.
But when I went to school, it was 100 per class. But that you grow up from kindergarten together and your family.
Right.
And even though you do the teen thing and you might not always like the person, you still do deeply care because we're in and out of each other's lives in this town.
Right.
So I love this town. But, when things get down and dirty, we are there for each other. We have each other's backs.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I do think is amazing is when you do experience a loss or grief, the support here, the people show up to support you.
Mhm.
It is lovely that you do have that. And I do think in bigger towns and cities, they are lacking in that. And that makes people feel left out, alone.
Ava said to me, did your kids go to senior camping?
Yeah.
Okay, did.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I don't know what your feedback was, but Ava was so excited. She goes, Mom,
Nothing. I have
best
a boy.
night.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Best night ever. Some of the people we haven't liked each other since kindergarten, but all we wanted to do was dance with each other. And all we did was dance and we hugged. And I just wanted to hug everybody. And I was just she's like,
she's so
we haven't been like that since
beautiful.
first grade. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And that's kind of what it's like here because I grew up here. I graduated from here. But some of the girls that I wasn't close to now, like we're very close. And it's just like you just grow up together. And it's just so
that's a
cool.
good closure moment for
It is.
for
It
them.
was.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, and
to
now
watch
they're
them.
planning another senior camping, and now they just want to camp together all summer long.
Yes, we're gonna
I'm like,
camp
that'll
and dance
fade.
all summer.
Hey, I think they're onto something. Maybe we should have an adult camp and dance all
Camp and
summer.
dance. Stay tuned on that. I might have a follow on.
I'm in that.
for some lady
I'm with it.
in
Oh,
July.
you do
I know.
actually.
Oh,
She does
even
have something
better.
coming
So
up.
I didn't know this magic was happening in here until we were setting up and spending hours creating a Pac-Man display. And then I started listening to episodes and I realized coming into here, I have a lot to learn from you all.
Oh,
So as we think about how to land psychedelic assisted therapy in the Valley, and we'll talk about that in a little bit in this episode, I feel like you all have a really great grasp of what's going on mental health wise, who's working on what. And I wonder if you could just spend a few minutes kind of grounding us in what you've already learned from the time that you've spent having conversations with so many people.
well, I think the biggest one that we repeat often is that we had no idea there's so many resources in this town that we were unaware of.
Yeah.
So we
for
launched
sure.
this thinking that we wanted people to be able to tell their story because there's lots of healing in that. But come to find out, there's so many resources here. So that has been a big mission of ours is trying to highlight some of that so that people are just more aware.
And that mental health looks so different.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different facets of it that you can't just bunch it into one thing. And I think that has opened my mind to a lot of things. It's made me more empathetic to especially like the world that we're in and the different ages, the different genres, the different generations is like, oh, everybody's dealing with something different
Mm-hmm.
and definitely something generational. So, like we were just talking about this earlier, our generation needs to be a little nicer to this next generation because and our kids because we had it tough, Our parents I think had it tougher.
Yep.
And so yes, these kids have it tough too, but there's some aspects that our generation wants to say, toughen up, oh, you don't have it bad. You think this is bad. We had it bad. And it's like, well, it's their bad, and it evolves and it changes. So we have to stay up on that. Or
Almost like mental health and recovery is not one size fits all.
Yep. Yeah, I like that.
Well, in the word recovery, I don't like when people have bunched it into you have an alcohol or drug addiction.
Addiction, yeah. It
Because
doesn't have to be addiction.
Yeah, recovery is so broad and that you could be recovering from a separation, a divorce, a change in family, a change in job, your best friend's
Codependency.
sister moves away, you lose your dog.
Grief.
Yeah, you just lost your dad. I mean, you've lost family members
Yeah.
this year. Recovery is such a broad term that can't be kind of pigeonholed into this one thing.
Mhm.
Everyone is actively going through some type of recovery throughout their
Yeah.
entire life.
Totally. I feel like my nervous system is in recovery right now, right?
Mhm.
I feel, yep.
And I
central
think
nervous
trying
system
to
burnout.
change that
Mhm.
stigma
Yeah.
because there's such a stigma when it comes to the word mental health and recovery that I think that's one of the reasons that we talk about it so much so that people understand that it's not crazy
Yeah.
Mhm.
or lost or
Sure.
broken, or, oh, you're in recovery, you're an addict.
Yeah.
Oh, you need mental health, you're bipolar or you're crazy. Like they're so quick to label things and it's so broad. So that's what's interesting, I think, to us. But so is all the different methods that people use to help with
Right,
that. It's
right.
all different. There's not
Right.
just a therapist or a psychiatrist. And then, oh, you were suffering, then go to a psychiatrist. Well, no, you could go to Psychedelic
Facilitator.
Right.
I love that.
Psychedelic.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're gonna have to. This is all new.
Yeah.
So you're definitely gonna have to explain like what you do. What does this mean? Because
How you got into it.
the stigma on
Yeah,
that, when you
absolutely.
hear the name, people are like, oh, yeah, I'm
people
not.
gotta judge that right away.
I'm not doing
sure.
drugs.
Yeah.
Speaking about our generation, we grew up with DARE, right? One of my first, one of my first memorable leadership opportunities was putting on the DARE shirt. I was in middle school, going to the elementary school, and saying, "Don't do drugs." And I'm back now saying, "Maybe you should."
Maybe just a little bit.
That is a random full circle moment.
Yeah.
It is.
I was in the chicken club
Oh.
in Willis, Texas, and that was an elementary school before DARE.
Yeah.
So I've been in that a long time.
Excuse me, what's the chicken?
Yeah,
Don't ask.
no, we're
It's
Don't
like-
do drugs or don't eat chicken.
I was in the country. It's like the elementary version of DARE.
really
Chicken club.
Chicken club.
And that commercial, right?
And I like how her accent just comes right back as soon as she.
I was in
It's
the
like she
chicken
went
club.
back. I was in the chicken club.
Remember that commercial? This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs.
Yes.
And the
Oh,
egg fries,
Yes,
right? Like
yes, I do
our
love it.
brains don't. I mean, addiction is very close to my life as well, but in certain situations, our brains do very different things than that commercial led us to believe
Yes.
on, plant substances, I would say.
Okay. Okay.
So where should we start? Like, I feel like this conversation can go in a number of
Totally.
different
It can.
directions.
We have to start with how did you come to Steamboat? What brought you here to
oh,
the Valley?
okay.
And
okay.
then probably what brought you into this
This.
field of work.
Yeah. Okay. So what brought me to the Valley? The universe brought me to the Valley. But honestly, moved here in 2021, kind of sight unseen. So I'm from Washington State,
Okay.
the Pacific Northwest side, and had lived in the mountains for the 2 years of COVID, somewhat serendipitously, honestly. Wanted to teach the kids to ski, so we kind of found a little place to rent up there at Snoqualmie Pass, which is where I grew up skiing as a kid. But it had a gas station with a pizza shop, and we could walk to the lifts, and that was about it.
Wow.
So I worked for Zillow at the time, and they said, we don't care where you move. And so, yes, I am one of those remote worker stories. And so we came here and because we wanted mountain life, but we really wanted to embed ourselves in a community. And so Nate, who's a senior this year, was moved for 8th grade. Max started at 3rd grade, and my oldest is in Bozeman. So we came with 2 kids.
So my son started 8th grade too. So we
Yeah.
were 2021
Yeah,
movers.
and these were COVID
which gave
kids,
them
right?
it gave them a great class. I
Yeah.
always
That's so
thought.
crazy
Really
that you guys have
Really
never
concept.
met.
I know.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah.
in the same grade.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's what brought me here. I think what keeps me here, and I'm fiercely working to stay here, is the friends that I have, and the way that there's so much fluidity to my life, and honestly, so much shedding that is happening for me. And just, I feel like this valley, as much as there's hurt, there's also so much healing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I miss my family immensely. It's a 20-hour drive to get back to Washington. But I'm going to figure it out. And I think part of that figuring it out is this new page that I'm finding myself in, where I'm halfway through my master's in social work at CSU.
Wow. Oh my
Congratulations.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So we
That's
have to call you
exciting.
Master
Thank
Tish.
Tread lightly.
Almost. I have a year and a half to go.
No,
I'll
that's all
start
I'll
at-
say about that.
Inside joke, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. This January, I got my license from the state of Colorado to do psychedelic-assisted therapy. So I was license number 511. So
wow.
really,
Wow.
really early in that whole process. I'm super proud to be a Coloradan as we figure this out, right? Like we're writing the playbook and living it at the same time. And I'm so grateful to so many people that work to make that possible for our state.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
okay.
changing fast.
I have
Yeah.
a couple questions. First of all, how new is the psychedelic realm? And then 2, how'd you get from Zillow to all of a sudden getting your master's? in-
Yeah. Okay. Psychedelics are not new. There are cultures around the world where this has
Yeah.
always been a practice.
Yeah.
We're bringing it to our culture and trying to figure out how to do that in ways that feel ethical, that are honoring the traditions that are in those medicines, and also then trying to fit it into a Western medical model. So it's not new.
Okay.
It's
Right.
new. It's new to us.
Ayahuasca is like an example
Sure.
of one, right?
There are lots of them. Peyote, San Pedro, like there are lots of different types of plant medicines. Colorado right now, psilocybin is where the legal model is set up.
Mhm.
So we can go back to the job and like, how do these things meld together for me?
Mhm.
So my career has really been spent in a corporate environment, either on the consulting side or in-house as kind of like the chief marketing officer to the people team. So that means I'm crafting culture. I'm figuring out how to tell the story of what it means to work here. Not necessarily what's the story of being a Zillow customer, but what does it mean to work here? I did it for T-Mobile. My most recent employer is Bill, which is a fintech company. So it's really all about how are we different? What do you get when you work here versus somewhere else? How do we tell that story through the people that work here, the culture that we bring to life, our values? So it can be a lot of content creation. It can be the whole digital experience where candidates go and look for jobs and apply. But in each of those roles, what I was figuring out was like, man, work isn't working for people.
Hmm.
Work is not
Interesting.
working for people.
Yeah.
And so I initially was like, ooh, I want to go down this path of IO psychology, which is like the study of work and people. But that lens takes the perspective of the company and looks at the worker and how can we make the worker work better in our environment. And I
productive.
wanted to take the perspective of the worker and look at all the systems in which we're trying to thrive. And so that's the social worker lens. And interestingly, I feel like social work as a practice has gotten very, very far away from the labor movement. And I do think there's a space for me to start to bring that conversation back to its origins in some ways of like,
Right.
it started with well-intentioned women who were like, work isn't working for people. But we're really far away from that now. So in some ways, I think human sustainability is where I'm headed. And with a lens to work. Yeah. So there's a lot that's not written for me yet. I think I have more questions about my path than I have answers.
I'm
Which is
with you,
fun.
sister.
Yeah. So there's this really robust corporate background. There is this emerging social worker lens, which is really about human sustainability and thriving. And now we're layering in this also, emerging medicines and ways to help people. So to answer your question about how did all of this happen, I was on the social worker path. I had filled out my application. And I had a truly therapeutic psychedelic experience in the Valley for the first time. And I came out of that resolving things I had never been able to resolve in talk therapy. We're talking like decades of work, one session.
Okay.
Decades of work, tens of thousands of dollars. And there was this piece that landed inside of me and just acceptance of like, oh, okay.
Maybe you should.
That was it.
Well, that's an article. I read an article that said just that 10 years of talk therapy can be resolved in one therapeutic session.
But how?
We'll get to that. Let me finish the story real quick. So I came out of that and I thought, it's going to be irresponsible of me to enter this field of social work, whether that's program or direct private practice, and not understand how to also work with these medicines. So my philosophy is that we all need a very robust tool set. You hear it in here all the time. There's so many ways, like you said, no one, it's not a prescription. It doesn't work the same for everybody. And so I felt that I owed it to whoever my future clients would be to understand how to weave this sort of practice in. So I took a year-long course through Sound Mind, which is run by Dr. Hannah McLean out of Philadelphia. She's run a ketamine clinic for years and has been very instrumental in the United States in getting legal models set up, running,
I've heard amazing
research.
things about ketamine as well.
Totally. We can cover that too. I think the thing here in the Valley and why I'm sitting with all of you today is that there's two paths with just broadly psychedelic medicine, right? In terms of like what the state has said. So they have decriminalized it, which means there's a personal use path, which is that you can possess your own, you can grow your own, you can consume your own. And in the state of Colorado, that is not illegal. Federally, it's a different thing. Oregon was the other state right now. New Mexico is coming. And then there is a truly legal model, which is set up to say, hey, we want to make it safe and really clear as to how you can access this type of therapy. And it's a 4-part process. You can't skip any parts of this process. So if you want to go to a licensed healing center, and that number changes all the time. I think there's at least 20 right now, but that number is constantly changing in Colorado.
Yeah.
It's a 4-part process. So first we would meet and we would do a bit of a pre-screen in terms of what sort of medications are you on? What's your reason for seeking this? Are you actively suicidal right now? If so, that's understandable. And we might want to start something somewhere different. If so, do you have any experience just sort of being in your body? Any experience with past therapy? Any somatic healing experiences like breath work? And so from that initial pre-screen conversation, we would move into a prep meeting. So meeting number 2 now. Prep meeting is really working with you on what's your intention for wanting to work with this type of medicine at this time. And intention, I can't tell you how important that is. It seems really simple, but it's truly kind of the opening, the gateway, the threshold to the whole experience.
Right. Well, they have to be actively aware of what their problem is.
Right.
Because if they can't accept what their own problems and issues are,
Yeah.
how is it going to come out in therapy then? Right.
So we pre-screen, we prep. That covers things also like, there's consent for touch. Like, do you feel comfortable if I hold your hand? What about your feet or your shoulder? That's what we're allowed to touch. I have people work on their no. Like, I want to hear what your no sounds like, and I want you to hear what my no sounds like. So that is a place of trust for us going into this, because I need my clients to know they can say no if something isn't feeling good. So that's meeting number 2, right? Of like, and we figure out dosage, and we figure out if you're going to like do it all up front, maybe start with a little bit and then add some later. And then meeting number 3 is really when you come back and it's administration. So, and that has to take place in the licensed healing center itself. The prep call and the integration don't necessarily, but that actual like medicine from the lab that's been tested. We know exactly how much psilocin, different word, psilocin, that's the active ingredient in psilocybin.
Yes.
Psilocin is in the dose that you're taking. And then the facilitator sits with you that entire time, which can be upwards of 8 hours, honestly. Yeah.
So this is all plant-based, right?
Yeah.
And organic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Is the dosage
No chemicals.
based on like body mass size?
Not necessarily. Oftentimes, it's more based on other medications that you're taking. So some of them, like SSRIs and SSNIs, have a blunting effect. And so we tend to boost a little bit just to kind of get that over the hurdle. Sometimes if people have previous experience and they know kind of how the medicine lands with them, they'd be comfortable starting. But, like, even kind of smaller doses, I wouldn't say microdoses, but smaller, 1, 2, can really have a pretty profound and lasting effect. I facilitated for a couple last week. She was 85 and he was 90.
No way.
Yep.
And they did it together?
Yep.
Oh,
This
wow.
is the work that I'm super excited about, honestly.
Wow.
What was their, I know you can't really say, but what was just general intention
Give us
for
the
them to
dirt.
do
No,
together?
just kidding.
awe, wonder, like what else can I experience?
Wow.
How can I understand the intelligence of our creator? Like it was incredible.
Interesting.
So let me just connect this last part. So we're there the entire time for the active portion of the medicine, music, comfort, bathroom assistance, like truly caring and nurturing. I want to make sure we talk about the 4th meeting because that's really where the research shows us that the psychedelic assisted therapy becomes truly therapeutic. And that's the phase we call integration. And that's in the legal model in Colorado. It's required that you do it at least once But you can do that as many times as you want. You can do it with your psychedelic facilitator. You can do it with your therapist in town. You can do integration in a variety of different ways, including with your yoga teacher, right?
Okay, I'm sorry. Explain what the integration means.
Integration
That's not with the
is-
medicine.
So integration is once they get you through the medicine,
Okay.
give you a snack, make sure you're good. You get your ride home because you're not going to drive yourself or take a bike home.
Okay.
Someone's going to come get you home. 24 hours, 48 hours, or in the next week or so, we're going to come back together and talk for probably an hour about, so what did you experience? What did you, how did you experience your intention? What insights do you have? And therefore, what changes are you going to make? What boundaries are you going to keep?
How are you going to
What
use it?
relationships are you, how are you
Right.
going to use it?
Well,
That's truly the therapeutic part.
And that's where the neuroplasticity
That's right.
change
That's right.
occurs because it's almost like doing a wrap up or a conclusion. So you're looking back at what you learned from there, and then you're kind of guiding and facilitating. So, like, all of the new synapses start to occur,
Yeah,
right?
for
Am I
sure.
explaining it right? So, an actual change does occur. So,
Yeah.
it
Wow.
cements in
Yep.
the new, because it's your whole brain is thinking of a new way of seeing a whole situation now.
Yep.
So I was in a rut. I'm depressed. It's anxiety. I have PTSD. Have this experience, and now you go and conclude it, and your mind can heal itself, and you can heal itself from all those wounds. Yes, Jen, do you have a question?
Yes. So is this like a healing of anxiety, depression, PTSD, or is it healing from particular traumas or life events?
I would say both. And this is so keep in mind, so much research is going to start happening now. I think we're up to 10 studies that are like truly empirical, really solid data. So there's so much research we still have to go and do.
But
I
in-
remember reading one report and around major depressive disorder. So keep in mind, these are folks for whom pharmaceuticals are just not working and nothing is working long term. And so what they found with the psychedelics is that it was about people connecting to their values, things that were important to them, remembering who they were separate from this diagnosis or this disease that they just couldn't get out from under, this core memory that caused PTSD. And so it's the opening of the pathways and the realization that, oh, I can see this trauma from a different perspective. And then it's coming out of that and saying, I want to make different choices because of what that experience led me to believe, understand, see again, or see in a new way. So yes, the brain changes, but it's not a panacea. We still have work to do once we get out of that medicine as like an aha. Okay.
That's a good
So I would
explanation.
say the medicine, what the medicine does, remember when we would drive from here to Denver and I-70, the ruts in I-70 are so effing scary.
Yeah.
You don't want to move your car. You do not want to change lanes. That is what our brain is doing.
Oh, that's a good.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the plant
That's
medicines
great.
come in, smooth it out, and all of a sudden it's very seamless to change lanes.
Oh.
I would say another one for us here in the boat is you have those runs you love to do, and then it snows, and you're like, actually, maybe I'm going to go a different route this time, right? Because those well-worn grooves are no longer there. So that's the brain actual chemistry part of it. And so once we can kind of see something a different way, we come out of that and say, I'm going to change this relationship. I'm going to create a different boundary here. I'm going to spend more time in nature because that medicine reminded me of how healing it is for me to be in nature. And when our behaviors and our choices start to change, that's when we see depression and things start to lift. So do you see how they're all kind of connected?
Yeah. Instead of people hitting their rock bottom to get that aha moment to go no other direction but back up, this kind of like
That's a much quicker way
eases
of
that.
getting
Yeah,
back to
it stops. Yeah, you can do the same kind of
Work.
effect. Yeah, the transformation without it being rock bottom or so traumatic.
Yeah,
Like, because everyone's always like, oh yeah, it's I mean, we hear stories over and over here, like, oh yeah, I did this, I went to prison, I did that, and then change. So this kind of is that impactful, but in a nicer way and
Can
less,
be. It can be hugely
yeah.
traumatic, right? I mean, the medicine, this is going to sound woo woo, and I'm not sure if I'm a woo woo person or not, but the medicine knows where to go. Okay.
Uh,
And so if there is trauma, and maybe
mhm.
that's part of your intention is like, I need to face this fear, that can be the hours that we spend together with the medicine doing its work. It can be scary and sad and traumatic, but also that's our opportunity to heal that.
Mhm.
So I don't want to give anyone the impression that this is all kind of like,
Only fluff.
dancing trees and
Mhm.
rainbows and,
Right.
truly like visual experience. Everyone I've had of these experiences has been vastly different.
Has anyone ever gotten sick, like thrown up?
You hear that a lot with ayahuasca. I have
Ayahuasca, yeah.
not had that experience with myself, any of the groups I've been part of, any of the trainings I've been part of, or any of the people that I've facilitated
That's
directly.
good.
How is this dosed? Like, is it intravenous
Oh,
or
no. Yeah,
oral?
good question. So it can come a couple different ways. I've had it where it's been freeze dried or dehydrated and then crumbled and kind of put into a liquid that you usually drink. Sometimes, and the way I do it is that it's crushed and then you can mix it usually with a juice or something that helps it activate. So kind of looks like a powder, if you
Mhm.
will. And yeah, you mix it with a kind of yummy tasting juice. Takes about 45 minutes or so to really land in the body. And then you kind of start feeling what I describe as waves. And then probably an hour and a half, 2 hours in, you can really be in the medicine depending on the dose. For me, and to your point earlier, it really works differently in everybody. I can kind of bring myself out and I can drop myself back in. Sometimes it's been a very like internal, I just want to be inside my body experience. Sometimes it's I'm really out in the world and I'm playing drums and having a really beautiful experience
But
in
you're in the
nature.
office the whole time.
In the healing center model, so keep in mind there's two paths. There's this personal use path in which you can have a trained facilitator as part of that experience,
Yes.
or you're in a healing center. And so now we can talk about there's so much flexibility with what the healing center can look like in Colorado. They've created the legislation so that you can have outdoor access, right? So the ideal space that we want to find here in the Valley, and maybe now we're getting to like, what do we really want to talk about? We want to talk about how we're going to create a healing center here.
Right.
We don't want people driving for hours. We don't want a corporation coming in and parking one here.
Mhm.
We want to figure this out for ourselves. So yeah, it could look like co-locating with a yoga studio, right?
Mhm.
Where you've got mats and people are sitting on cots. It could look like maybe a medical-ish center. We can do groups, you can do individuals. It could look like a ranch that also has, sort of like guest services and properties. I think I would really love to have
And
outdoor
animals?
and animals.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
would
that
really
would
love
be
to
fun.
have outdoor access.
Mhm.
So we started a conversation in the community kind of about a year ago. I kind of put the word out of like, who's interested? Who cares how this lands? That then evolved into starting a branch of the NOAC Society here. So the NOAC Society is probably almost 20 years out of Fort Collins having conversations about psychedelic treatments and therapy. And so now there are branches in Boulder, Denver, Fort Collins, Colorado Springs, and then we will have our third meeting on June 14th from 3 to 5 at Blue Sage. And anyone is welcome if you're curious, if you're a practitioner, a facilitator, if you are in the personal use space and you just want to be with people who care about doing this responsibly and safely, like that is a conversation we're all welcome to be part of.
Oh, wow. That
Mhm.
sounds lovely.
That is so cool.
And then and then you have an event coming up too.
Yeah. So, I was approached by a lot of women. I think the Year of the Fire Horse is doing something pretty remarkable
Mhm,
for
mhm.
women. I have 3 boys, so mental health in men and boys is really important to me
Mhm.
personally. Oops.
Oh,
Personally, However, a few women have approached us and said, can we do kind of some group therapy? I think there's something very powerful about group healing, honestly. And
We've experienced
yeah,
that.
yeah. And my philosophy is like, facilitate is the right word. Like, we all have inner healing wisdom. I think plant medicine in particular helps unlock so much of our inner healing wisdom.
Mhm.
And so it's our job to guide that and keep you safe. And when things get heavy and dark, to sit with you and then help you move that into a new place.
Right.
What
That's so
what kind
beautiful
of
that you do that.
I know
Yeah.
it's all yeah. What kind of pushback, if any, have you experienced with this journey here in our area?
No pushback. I mean, I think more it's just an unknown, right?
Mhm.
Drugs have just been so criminalized, especially if you're a person of color in our culture. And so there's this weird dance between like, what is it really? How does it work? Are you sure it's therapy? And I think there are a lot of people who are like, oh, mushrooms, I do that at raves, or I go out in the woods with my friends. And this is not that
Right.
different. And I've had people be part of some of these healing groups that even microdose just personally on their own and said, I've never experienced the psilocybin like that before. It's
Mhm.
when you approach it with intention, when you approach it with care, when people are there to really guide you and you're asking the medicine to help you go deep, different things happen.
What
Wow.
is you as a facilitator doing during during this process? What are
Yeah.
you doing? Are you
Yeah.
taking notes? Are you
Um, Sometimes when it depends on what we decide during the prep session, right? And so sometimes if they are saying the same thing over and over again, I will make a note of that. Oftentimes you're just making sure people are comfortable. Sometimes there's a lot of felt sense of like, man, I'm going to move that energy out of here. So if the client's okay with certain smells or scents or fans, like it's kind of like, ooh, that was an intense one. Like, let's move that out of here. So it's really kind of being in tune with what's happening with the client. Um, the couple I talked about from last week, she really just got a lot of comfort from someone being there. She didn't, we helped her get to the bathroom at one point. But she was often looking over and just saying, okay, you're still there, right? And I'm gonna kind of keep doing this work.
How much would this cost? And I guess insurance doesn't cover it.
Not yet. I think this is where we are in the like very infancy stages of where all this is going, right? There's an executive order from Trump a couple of weeks ago to kind of make sure that these types of therapies get looked at differently through the FDA. So we're at the very beginning. Again, super exciting to be in Colorado. So the the price range, like if you look at the healing centers around the state, I think you're probably looking at $1,500 on average to start. So keep in mind that is 4 appointments and probably around 15 hours that a client would spend with a therapist.
Mhm.
And a lot of the really great providers are trying to create sliding scales or pay what you make or make it accessible, right? I mean, this is the dilemma. So when I go to state level conversations, no one's making money.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not something in which
It's not
people
a
are
money
making
maker.
money. I personally am going to keep another avenue as a livelihood because I don't want this to be what I have to rely on to support my family.
Yeah.
You know?
It would make
So
it different.
it would
It
make
would
it
make it a
different.
different
Yeah, but
for you.
I think that is that's a dilemma, right? Like we want people who are providing therapies to be able to
Right.
sustain themselves, to be able to get massages,
Yes.
to go on vacations, to
Yeah.
take a day off, to get a
And
haircut,
to be able
Yeah.
to live
Yeah.
here.
and to be able to live
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
And
Stay
so
here.
we're going to have to figure this out. And that's why I
Mhm.
think about starting the healing center here. The cool thing Colorado did is that you can co-locate that business. Oregon,
Oh, great.
and it's not worked out for them, has said you can only be a psychedelic service center. And it
Yeah.
just, the numbers don't work out. So
Right.
that hurts to say, right? So for the women's circles that we're doing in July, that's $500. We're kind of doing a friends and family. But again, it's personal use, right?
Mhm.
That's not the legal model. I will tell you, I spent upwards of $20,000 just getting certified and licensed and through training. And To license the healing center, it's thousands of dollars every year. And then you have to have software, you have to have security, you have to pay rent, you have to have, I mean, like I've worked with a few people through the Economic Development Council here on just the business model, and it's tough. It's really tough. So if we're all going to vision towards anything together, I think it's a, Yampa Valley Wellness Center where the death doulas have a place to work and the psychedelic facilitators have a place to work. And
Did you say death doula?
Yes.
have you not had death doulas in here yet?
No.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
Have you ever been to Death Cafe in town?
I have not, and I
22nd of every month at Dusky Grouse. Al and Teresa lead Death Cafe, which is an international kind of meetup, but it's just a conversation to talk about death and dying. But in talking about death and dying, we're talking about living.
Okay, I want to go.
Yeah, you
we
want to
gotta check
go.
this out. I'll go with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Let's
need
write
to
it
go
down.
for-
We have a pretty
That's really cool.
active death doula community. So sometimes death
Yeah.
doulas come in and they support people who are actively dying, whereas hospice is like, hey, we're going to make sure you're comfortable.
Right.
A death doula, much like a birth doula, is really there as your advocate. Sometimes people are just have a mental block on just getting prepared and having things in order. And a death doula can help just with logistics, even if you're.
I love this. I learn something new all the time here. I love it.
It's
That's so
really
cool.
incredible what you all are doing. So thank you.
Well, we love what we're learning.
Yeah.
And then really it's like our friends and people we work with. That's kind of the cool thing. People, I feel like, come to us because they're like, well, who do you know that knows so-and-so? We have
Yep.
somebody who's going
So
through X,
true.
Y, and
Yep.
Z, and they
Yeah.
need.
Yep.
And right away, we've been doing it for just over a year. I'm like, I know exactly who to call. Actually, she's in my contacts
Yeah.
because I've had
Yep.
her on the
Oh, yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
So it's been
I
it's been
learned
great
so
to
much.
help start the conversation.
How do we bring that out of just like people's knowledge in their own heads? Like, are we missing a resource as a community that
Mhm.
helps people understand
Yes.
all that's available?
I don't know. Emily has that list. Emily with
Yes,
Health
that's
Partnership
true.
has worked tirelessly
Yes.
to have a full list on their website at Health Partnership.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, over 200 resources. If you need
Huh.
gas money, a
Yeah.
place to stay,
Okay.
if you need food, if you need diapers for your children,
Right.
there's a resource on that list. That's 200.
Yeah.
And
in
there's
our
also with
community?
the Hope Initiative coming out too, people will be able to call in locally for Hope Initiative, and those community local
Mhm.
resources will be shared with whoever's calling.
Oh, yeah. The Hope
It's like the
Initiative. We'll have
crisis line.
Dana on soon. So they've integrated Hope Initiative into the
Mhm.
Health Partnership. So Health Partnership is now, they've got to train and have people who can answer the phones, but it'll help reps
Direct,
for
yeah.
one. And then, like, it's happening.
It
It
is, yeah.
really
Yeah.
is happening. For me, what we have seen over the last year with
Yep.
the police, the sheriff
Mhm.
department, them adding counselors, Route County Crisis,
Mm-hmm.
and their support team,
Mm-hmm.
it is amazing what programs
Mhm.
have got off the ground this year. It is, yeah, I think it's on the table and it's growing. So
Mhm.
I love to hear people and I love that we have actually seen and talked to and have met people who are creating the change
Mhm.
here.
Yep.
And it is, and over time, our goal starting this too was that we wanted a brick and mortar kind
Mm.
of recovery in a place where, because addiction and recovery, there is not a brick and mortar place. And that's something that
send
was
them
always
away.
big on our hearts.
Mhm.
And I know that it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just like
if
the healing
we'll just,
center,
yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
a different type of brick
Yep.
and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap
coming.
up today, if someone were to come to you and say that they're scared of what might occur during the session and they have fear associated with that, what would you share with them?
I would say, like, I honor that for sure. And that addressing our fears together is probably one of the first steps to kind of figuring out what needs to be healed there. If you're asking, like, hey, I don't want to do this because I'm scared of what might happen, the timing might not be right. I think maybe the place to start is more with somatic things and breath work and yoga, and really just kind of getting more of a felt sense in your body of where does fear sit? What's the fear about? And just kind of developing a relationship with the fear a little bit more, and maybe revisiting something like this at another time. I would never want to force this on somebody.
Good.
We've talked about psilocybin. Sometimes ketamine can be like an easier, gentler way. Angela Melzer talks about it as putting your toe in the water, ketamine, whereas psilocybin is like you're jumping in.
Okay.
So that could be something maybe that I would talk with that person too. I think feeling really ready to be open and receptive to whatever might happen. That's what the research shows about psilocybin that creates the best kind of outcomes for people. Is like, I'm not attached to what this is going to be for me. I'm really open to what might emerge.
Or you're just
Right.
ready to release
Yeah.
and let
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
of patterns and behaviors.
Yep.
I think like we just get there at some point when you want to make a big change.
Yeah.
You can only do it when you're just like, I'm done. I'm ready.
Yeah.
You're ready.
Yep.
You're
That's right.
ready.
Yeah.
And I would say that just to cover all the bases for our healing, because I've heard some stories about EMDR therapy.
Yeah.
When you are really ready and searching for, you have to have a lot of ability to already look in at the self, kind of have healed a few things. I know where I've seen things go wrong is when people are in the state of shock, your central nervous system is still up here, and you go in and you want to do this thing and you want to get it over with and solve XYZ problem without really doing the looking at yourself, doing some self-care, maybe regular therapy and counseling. You kind of have to get yourself, you can't go in hot. That's what I would say. You can't be at the bottom and super depressed and expect a miracle.
Yep.
On that
Yep.
note, you need to do some self-healing, I think, before you would jump into any of the EMDR or real psychedelic.
And we hear from a lot of people who are like, I've tried so many things, right? I would say my situation was like, I have brought this topic to talk therapy for decades.
Yeah.
I needed to try something else. So I think that's part of it too, of like, it's just unresolved and I've tried so many things and
you're ready.
I
and
want
you're
to,
searching.
yeah.
Like,
That's a really good message, I feel like, for you to have said.
Thanks so much for coming.
Well, thank you for what you're doing for all of us.
This has been really fun.
I feel like I have so many more questions. So we'll be sure to share some links and information so that you guys can check out more and find out how to get in touch with Tish.
Yep. We can do a
Thanks so
part
much.
2.
Yes,
Wow.
definitely a
would be
part
great
2.
idea.
And then I want to get a hold of a death doula.
Yeah, I can help you with that.
All right,
Okay,
give us
thank
the
you.
contacts.
See you at Death Cafe too. Actually, it would be this week. Not that we're not busy as massive seniors.
I know. We're fine. I'll squeeze it in. All right,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
We'll talk to you
Take
later.
care.
Bye.